All right, welcome into the Pharmacist and the Photog Games, Grooves, and Grub. I am the Pharmacist Dion Spencer alongside the Photog Steve Moss. And I'm just going to jump right in, tackle it head on, and ask the question, is this team good enough to win a national championship? And I'm going to go on record tonight and say, yes, they are good enough to win a national championship because I feel like they've got better talent than they had when they won the last championship. Ooh. And, of course, I'm talking about 2020 when the UK women's volleyball team won the national championship, and this team is better than that team.
I didn't know where you were going with this. For a minute there, I was going to say, wait a minute. They had two first-round picks, Anthony Davis and – Oh,
I mean, we're a volleyball school.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Craig Skinner is the best coach on campus.
Absolutely.
Craig Skinner is the coach of the volleyball Wildcats. He has won 9 consecutive SEC regular season championships. The league rejuvenates the SEC volleyball tournament, and he goes out and wins the SEC tournament championship in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, that was high level.
Yeah, I texted you and I said, this volleyball is extremely high level. And you're like, oh, I completely forgot. Came home, turned it on. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Because you don't often see the reverse sweep.
Right. I hadn't even heard that term.
Right. Of course. There are so many terms in volleyball that, some of that stuff, it sounds like it's made up on the fly. Yeah. But Texas wins the first 2 sets. And in college volleyball, it's the best 3 out of 5. Kentucky is down 2 championship points and rallies to win the 3rd set. Then they win the 4th and the 5th. And I'm yelling at the TV.
Yeah.
And I don't normally do that.
Yeah.
But these girls, women, are so good. They beat Texas for the 2nd time this season. They won in Austin early in the season.
Dominated them in the regular season.
They did. Got off to a slow start last night, but now Kentucky has to wait for the selection show. They're going to be a 2 seed.
Right.
Nebraska has beaten them already once this year. Nebraska's ranked number 1 in the country. Kentucky should be the 2 seed, and I do like their chances of at least making it to the national championship game.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just incredible when you look at what's been done with that program. I mean, Skinner came to UK in 2005, and I think I read that in the 5 seasons prior to his coming to UK, they hadn't had a winning season.
There is history at Kentucky. Kathy DeBoer kind of laid the groundwork, but then, as you say, they went on a drought there for a while. Right. And Skinner comes from, I believe, Ball State.
I think so.
Yeah, he was an assistant at Nebraska, which is kind of the cradle of coaches, if you will, for volleyball. And now Skinner's turning out his own assistant coaches who are taking over. He's got one at Vandy, he's got one at South Carolina. So, Craig is becoming like the premier coach. He is the premier coach in the SEC now that Mary Wise has retired, and Skinner is arguably one of the 5 best coaches in America. He's the best coach on Kentucky's campus.
Yeah. You can't. I just don't think you can.
He and Harry Mullins.
That. Yeah.
And I asked you. I said, who would you put on the Mount Rushmore of Kentucky coaches, all sports?
Okay.
Did you have a list?
Well, I came up with. I definitely have 3. I'm still wishy-washy on my 4th, and maybe I don't have enough background in some of the other sports, your non-major sports, to realize the impact that some of these coaches have made. I mean, I think we both agree number 1 on the list would be Adolph Rupp. He's going to be number 1.
I agree.
A second person on the UK coaching Mount Rushmore for me, and I'm going to have more than one guy from basketball. My second one would be Rick Pitino.
I agree with that. I thought you might go with Cal.
No. Rick Pitino came to Kentucky,
at its lowest point.
Yeah. I mean, after the scandal and everything, and he resurrected Kentucky. Won the national championship, and damn near won the second one. Had it not been for DA being hurt, we would have beaten Arizona. Yeah, those 2 for sure. Craig Skinner has to be on this list.
Yes.
But then the fourth spot is where it gets really sticky.
I'm going Bear Bryant.
I waffled back and forth between Bear Bryant.
He won a national championship at Kentucky, albeit it was a mythical national championship. But he beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. It was at 50 or 51.
Yeah.
And who knows what would have happened at Kentucky had he stayed. You know, depending on what you want to believe, there are all these, you know, urban legends that he couldn't coexist with Adolph Rupp. So he went to Alabama, and we all know what happened there.
Yeah. He was pretty good there.
He was pretty good. My fifth guy would be Harry Mullins, the rifle coach, who's won, I believe, 4 national championships.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I struggled between, you know, because you think about the major sports. Well, I mean, at Kentucky, you've got Bear Bryant. Then you've got Stoops, who just by sheer longevity has become the winningest all-time coach. And you know, I feel like he's at least made Kentucky, up until the last couple seasons, we've been a little bit more relevant in the scheme of the SEC. But he needs to turn it around if he's going to get carved in any stone out here on the, you know, overlooking the Kentucky River, I guess. But yeah, those first 3, I think we're in agreement there: Rupp, Patino, and Skinner. But yeah, we'll keep the debate open on the fourth guy. And
the thing about Craig Skinner is that, you know, there's nowhere for him to go. I think he's firmly entrenched at Kentucky. He has built this program, taken it to a level, you know, that never existed here, and has been able to get the top players in the country. Eva Hudson, the transfer from Purdue, if she's not in that lineup last night, I mean,
we don't win that game.
They don't win. And, oh, by the way, she's playing alongside last year's SEC Player of the Year in Brooklyn DeLay, who she is a badass.
Yeah. Well, and neither one of them won the MVP last night. I know. Which is
Brooklyn DeLay had a really bad game for her.
Yeah.
Eva Hudson was tremendous, but yes, what Craig Skinner has done is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I mean, I can remember, you know, in 2020 when they kind of made, I think it was a pretty unexpected run to the national championship, but we were all, you know, everybody was hunkered down alone in our basements during COVID. And man, that was so much fun to watch because we just didn't have a whole lot to cheer about in so many aspects, but at least as Kentucky fans, I think that kind of unified people, you know, knowing that we were all sitting at home watching the same thing and cheering for those ladies to win. So it was pretty awesome.
And if you've never seen college volleyball, especially at that level, it's not that far beneath Olympic volleyball, which I think we've all seen.
Right.
It's not on the scale of the men's game on the Olympic level. That Karch Karai and those guys, you know, they kind of opened our eyes to it back in, you know, the 70s or the 80s. But it's very, very high level volleyball, and Kentucky's program is right there.
Yeah, and there's a good possibility that if you'd like to see it at that level, the national championship, you know, like Steve was saying, is going to start this coming week at December the 4th. I believe that's Thursday. I think, if my numbers are correct. Yeah, I think Monday's the 1st. Yeah, so it starts on December the 4th, and will culminate with the title game December 21st in Kansas City, Missouri. But Kentucky, as one of the top seeds, will likely host at historic Memorial Coliseum. So there will be an opportunity. Those will be hot tickets.
Yeah, they will. And if you've ever been to a volleyball match there, it's very entertaining. Not only, you know, the match on the court, but just the stuff that Kentucky has going on in and around the volleyball match. I would even say it's more conducive to fans than, say, a football or a basketball game, for that matter.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The renovations they've done at the Coliseum, awesome. It's a top-notch facility, even though it's one of the most historic buildings on UK's campus, and so it's rightfully named at this point. But Anyway, yeah, the volleyball right now has my attention a little bit more than the basketball team. Since we last met, the basketball team was soundly embarrassed by Michigan State in a game where I thought they looked lazy, uninterested.
I didn't think they would look well coached.
Yeah.
To be honest,
there's just a lot. There's so many things you could pick apart about that game. It was an embarrassment.
Specifically to that game, there was nobody on the floor who looked to me like they were willing to take charge of what was happening on the court. And I know Mark Pope was disappointed, and he can't do a whole lot standing over there on the sideline, but there's got to be somebody like an Otega Owe or a Denzel Aberdeen who's going to grab these dudes by the scruff of the neck and go, listen, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that happening. And then, it comes back around for me, as I've complained here many times. If I have a complaint, it's the substitution patterns, the lineups. I don't understand them. I know it's all about analytics, but at some point, Mark Pope has to have a feel for the game. You can make the numbers say whatever you want them to say.
Right.
In my opinion, it's like the plus minus thing. You can make that say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you have to have a feel for the flow of the game and who's engaged and who's not. And I just don't see that sometimes, or I'm just totally confused.
No, it's, and the thing is, there's just so many rumors flying around. We don't know what's going on with this team, but there seems to be, or at least the general consensus is, there are some chemistry issues that is kind of baffling to me, because like we were saying, in the preseason exhibition win over Purdue, they looked incredibly cohesive. They were sharing the basketball. They looked genuinely happy for each other when things were going well. I don't know what happened since then, but that's not what we're seeing on the floor right now.
Well, and that was the first game.
Yeah.
That was right out of the gate. So everybody is dying to get on the court and play somebody other than your teammate in practice. Yeah, they were engaged. They were all about it. And while it was labeled an exhibition game, you can bet both of those teams were playing as hard as they possibly could to win that game.
I would agree.
Because it's Purdue, ranked number 1, and it's Kentucky that they're facing. So Purdue has something to, they've got a carrot out there, like, we're going to beat these guys on their home court. And it's on TV. I just don't know what has happened since. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to, but then the Michigan States and
Louisville.
And the Louisville game was even kind of a humiliating loss.
Yeah.
And it took the Michigan State game, I think, to really make Mark Pope understand and realize, like, the honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
When the national media starts calling you out and saying
most disappointing team.
Yeah, or that was an embarrassing loss to a team that, by all accounts is very blue collar. There aren't many stars on that team. I don't know how many of those Michigan State guys will be drafted.
Yeah, right.
But it's it's something for Mark Pope to pause and take into consideration. And I think he did that. We're recording on Wednesday night, and Kentucky is playing Tennessee Tech. And for the first 10 minutes of the half, it looked like they were pretty disinterested.
Yeah.
And then they finally, it took like a second team to kind of kickstart the game, but I know they were leading at half by 15.
Yeah, I mean, after that Michigan State loss, Pope did at least, he juggled the starting lineup going into the game against Loyola Maryland. And, he started, I've been saying all along, I felt like Malachi Moreno deserved the minutes off, at the beginning of the game over Garrison. He got him against Loyola and came through with 10 points and 8 boards, 4 blocks. And oddly enough, Garrison comes off the bench and plays better than he's played at any game all season. He had 6 points and 11 boards. So, I feel like that's probably, where you need to go.
Right.
And you had Cam Williams, who has been kind of streaky, but he started against Loyola and also played really well. 13 points, 9 boards, and 4 assists. So,
and I understand Pope kind of wanting these guys to get in the flow of the game early, as opposed to sitting over there and then coming in cold. At whatever point, usually that 16-minute, that first TV timeout. But also to send a message to a guy like Garrison, like, we need your best effort. And what was it? That sequence was all over the internet of him standing around underneath the basket against Michigan State watching a couple of rebounds go over his head, and then finally Michigan State puts an offensive rebound back. And it was just a bad look for the guy.
Yeah, just standing there flat-footed.
Yeah, there was no effort whatsoever. We call it buy him a ticket watching the game kind of a situation. Yeah. So, it's again, we said this after the Louisville loss. The good news is it's only, Thanksgiving. We're still in November. There's a lot of basketball games left to be played, but Kentucky not making a very good first impression, that's for sure.
No, and, the thing is, they don't have many games, especially after tonight. It gets real and it gets tough for several weeks in a row. They've got next week on Tuesday night, they've got North Carolina. Then they go Friday night and play Gonzaga. They get Indiana the week after that, and then they go play St. John's. I mean, beginning of January, it's Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's a brutal stretch there. I mean,
and to be fair, Kentucky is playing without its point guard. Jalen Lowe still not playing because of a shoulder injury. I've heard there are various reports that he's practicing, or at least he's taking non-contact drills. So that means maybe that we should see him again on the court, because there was even questions as to whether or not his season would end with surgery.
Right.
So if he's actually, doing non-contact drills, it sounds to me like they're pointing towards him playing again, which would be good until the shoulder gets hit again.
Right, because this looks like just a rewind and replay of Lamont Butler from last season, who had a very similar type thing going on and battled that shoulder all season. So, yeah.
And they were without Mo Diabate.
Right.
So, if they can get two of their starters back, things could show up a little differently. But even still, Otega Owe is not the same Otega Owe that we saw last year. Hopefully he gets it going. I did notice in the game that the driving lanes opened up a little more, and he took advantage of them early against Michigan State. But then when the game started slipping away, we're back to shooting jump shots.
Right. He's still not going to the bucket with the same aggressiveness that he did last year. Last year, when he had the opportunity, he would go to the hole and try to dunk it. And now he started with these little offhand finger rolls and things like that. And I'm just like, put the ball in the hole. You're big enough and strong enough. That's what frustrates me. I mean, coming from a 5'11" white guy who would love nothing more than just to be able to shove it down somebody's throat. I just don't understand why these guys don't attempt to dunk it on every possible opportunity, which I'm hoping, like I said to you, we'll see from Quaintance when he finally gets in, because if you look at Jaden Quaintance's highlight reel from his freshman year at Arizona State, if he was anywhere near the basket, his mind went to rip the rim off, and I don't care who's in my way. So that's what this team needs right now. Is I really feel like if he gets on the floor, that's your leader.
Well, and he's another guy who's been missing. So, at any point so far this season, they've been missing at least 3 starters.
Yeah.
So we'll see. There's still a long season ahead of them. They do have Carolina, St. John, and Gonzaga coming up. That's 3 potential losses. So
yeah,
it could get ugly in a hurry.
Well, speaking of ugly, we suffered another pretty embarrassing defeat last week. The UK football team took all the goodwill they had built over the previous few weeks and just let Vanderbilt, of all teams, just walk all over them. I mean,
that was a very, very disappointing game in the sense that Kentucky was never in that game.
No.
And we're talking about Vanderbilt.
Right.
kudos to Clark Lee and to Pavia, Diego Pavia, the quarterback. They have created something there in the last 2 years. They've caught lightning in a bottle.
All right.
And it's helped them enlarge their stadium. It's renewed interest in Vanderbilt football. That game against Kentucky, I think, was almost sold out. And it was a party-like atmosphere. And, of course, Diego Pavia's mom was all over the broadcast, and that's another story for a different day. Yeah. But the guy goes out and sets a school record at 484 yards passing. And to Mark Stoops' credit, that Kentucky defense was down, I want to say, from the lineup that started game one to the lineup that started against Vanderbilt. I believe they were down 4 starters, and they were down 6 total guys who were in the reps
right
every game. So Kentucky is really, really beat up as they head into Louisville, and it'll be all hands on deck for that game.
Yeah, just
defensively.
watching the Vanderbilt game. I mean, I watched bits and pieces of it. I couldn't bear to really pay attention to a whole lot of it. I was shocked at the end when I looked at the box score and saw that Cutter Boley had thrown for 280 yards because we were deep into the first half, and Kentucky only had about 25 or 30 yards total offense. So,
well, they couldn't run the ball to save their life. No. I think they only ended up with maybe 34 yards or something like that. And the 284, I mean, that was as quiet a 300-yard game as you'll ever see.
Yeah.
He did throw 2 picks.
Yeah.
Got dinged up there, had to come out, and here comes Zach Calzada. And he promptly throws a pick.
Yeah.
Just like he had all first, part of the season. So it was, as Rich Brooks would say, it was an all systems failure.
Absolutely. So hopefully we can get it together. Saturday we go to Louisville, losers of 3 straight. So who knows? Will they come out fired up to play their arch rival, or will they just roll over? It remains to be seen whether or not their quarterback's going to be back in the lineup.
And I'm not sure exactly how he got out of the lineup. I know that
he got hurt.
And that was a weightlifting thing?
I didn't hear that.
So he makes the comments after the loss to it was a loss at home.
They lost to Clemson.
Maybe
then
that's
they
who
lost
it was.
to or they lost to Cal. Then they lost to Clemson.
Well, one of those. It may have been the Cal game, but it was one of the two. He comes out in the post game and says there's a culture issue here that needs to get fixed before next season. Well, hey Podge, you've still got games to play here.
Yeah,
that's not exactly what Jeff Brom needs to hear. So suddenly he's not in the lineup against SMU. And I thought I read somewhere where there was a weightlifting room incident or accident that he hurt his foot. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that the backup QB is a freshman, and SMU just had their way with him.
Yeah.
Now, Louisville is missing like their top wide receiver.
Chris Bell's out.
Their 2 best running backs, Kewan Brown and Isaac Brown, and a host of others. Their injury list looks like Kentucky's.
Right. And if you're a Kentucky fan just grasping at straws, you look at the fact that maybe their quarterback's not going to play, their leading wide receiver is out. Is that enough to offset the fact that our defense is struggling right now? You like to think hopefully maybe we've got an advantage there, or at least equal. I feel like Boley is going to be better than whatever Louisville can put on the field at that point. So,
and I think Kentucky's running game will be better than whatever Louisville puts on the field.
True.
But Kentucky did lose Josh Caddis, one of their tight ends. So he was like 1A, 1B. I'm sorry, 1B compared to Willie Rodriguez, who was probably their 1A tight end. Anyway. And Kentucky, I think, gets Alex Afari back on defense. So that'll help.
That'll help, definitely.
Anything will help.
Yeah,
defensively.
No doubt. Well, Kentucky really needs to win this game, obviously, and there's a lot of implications. Go 6-6 and go to the Music City Bowl, I guess, is where we'll end up.
We keep hearing it's going to be Memphis.
Oh, well.
Walking in Memphis.
Yeah. If got to win, got to beat Louisville first, which
is a terrible bowl.
Yeah.
Memphis is terrible.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
I don't know. Obviously, I want to see us beat Louisville.
Given where this season started, it's still pretty remarkable that Kentucky is even in a position to go to a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the year, looking at the schedule, if you had told me we were going to go 6-6, I'd be like, wow, that's better than I thought.
Yeah,
and here we are with the chance to go 6-6. So, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I guess there's some games there that sure would like to have back. But there's a bunch of good games this weekend. I hadn't even really paid attention. I was just flying completely over me is the fact that it's rivalry week. I know we got all these great games, but man, there's some really good football games on Saturday.
Well, there's some good games on Friday too, including the Egg Bowl between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And apparently, after that game, Lane Kiffin is supposed to let his employer know what he's going to do, because said employer, Ole Miss, is they want to know something.
Yeah,
which. This whole Lane Kiffin situation is just so bizarre because you've got 3 schools bidding on him. Yeah. It's like this open bidding war, and it's all gone public. And now, even before the season is over, Ole Miss wants to hear from Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, and all Ole Miss can do is just sit back and watch, I guess, at this point, because it's almost a foregone conclusion that he's going somewhere. That's not Ole Miss.
I mean, Ole Miss has offered to pay them. Or pay Kiffin the same price that Ole Miss, or that Florida and LSU allegedly is offering, which is $13 million a year, somewhere in the $90 million range, and give him like $25 million in NIL money. So I don't know. I think if you were to ask me, I think he's going to LSU because there's better recruiting chances for him in the state of Louisiana. LSU will just be wacky in the money, and they're not afraid to just flaunt it. Yeah. So I think if he wants to win a national championship, he'll go to LSU. But he's built something decent at Ole Miss. I just don't know if he can get over that hump at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I agree. That one's going to be fun to watch. Georgia Tech. For years that game's been a non-issue. But this year, Georgia Tech's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 9-2. Georgia's 10-1. Georgia Tech coming in and beating Georgia could shuffle the college football playoffs a little bit. A&M 11-0, ranked number 3 in the country against number 16 Texas.
Yeah, and they haven't played each other for a while.
Yeah.
There's bad blood there. And then when Texas joined the SEC, everybody in Texas was hooting and hollering because now the two have to play each other at some point. But there's definitely bad blood there.
Yeah, that one will be fun to watch. And then, of course, the big one from a college football standpoint, which is I think the greatest rivalry in college football is Ohio State and Michigan. And
you've also got the Iron Bowl.
True.
Alabama-Auburn, although I think Alabama will wipe the field with Auburn.
Yeah, you figure that's
Tennessee and Vandy. That'll be an interesting matchup.
And again, you got
it's
so
in
many,
Nashville.
So many of these games that for years have been not really a rivalry at all. They've been pretty lopsided.
South Carolina, Clemson.
All of a sudden, these games are
two bad teams.
Yeah, two bad teams battling out to be the least bad, I guess is the case. But yeah, bunch of good football this weekend for sure. So when you're trying to work off your turkey hangover, that'll be something to keep an eye out on.
I just wanted to briefly touch on the bizarre story coming out of Virginia involving the Virginia high school football coach, Travis Turner, who's 46, down in that Wise, Virginia area. His team, his high school team he's the head coach of, Union High School. They're 12-0, and they're in the playoffs in Virginia. This guy goes missing.
Yeah, 6 days
You've
ago.
seen the
He
story
went
now.
missing on the 20th, on November 20th. So we're recording on the 20. What's the day? 26th. 26th.
Yeah.
So 6 days ago, this guy went missing, and
It turns out he's wanted now on child sexual abuse and using a computer to solicit charges. He has a connection to Eastern Kentucky University. He was the starting quarterback at EKU in 2001 and 2002, which was Roy Kidd's last season.
yeah,
So I covered this guy. I don't remember the name, quite honestly.
Right.
I remember quite a few quarterbacks over there, but I don't remember Travis Turner. But it's just so strange and so sad, honestly. We both think that he's going to they'll end up finding him somewhere, but it won't be good.
yeah. I think you're right. It's just, the guy, was a celebrated quarterback coming out of high school. Went to Virginia Tech, only to be met with one Michael Vick, who kind
beat him out.
took his job. So that's when he transferred to another school before he went to
UVA-wise,
yeah, and
which
then,
is where he came back to,
right.
To coach high school.
Yeah,
So
terrible,
but anyway,
terrible situation.
yeah, just very, very sad.
To see something like that happen, I'll never understand it, and I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
Anyway, we kind of take the non-sports side of this little endeavor every week and cover a lot of different stuff, and typically music and food and beverage, that kind of thing. But we also delve a little bit into pop culture, and the story that I hadn't seen it, and you sent me the link earlier in the week about the comic book that got sold this week. The #1 Superman.
The very first issue.
The first issue with him as a title character. Now, he had been introduced the year prior, 1938. He had been introduced as a secondary character, but this was 1939, Superman #1. I'll let you talk a little bit about it.
And comic book nerds will know this. That the Superman issues, especially the early issues, are the most sought after in comic book collecting circles. Yeah. 3 brothers, I believe, in San Francisco,
right,
were going through their mother's belongings and found this stash of comic books, because there were others that they've sold.
Right.
They all mentioned that she had told them she had quite the collection.
But they had never seen it.
But they had never seen it, and they went digging, I think, in their attic, and they found this stash of old comic books. Now, the auction house credits the Northern California climate for saving these comic books, because this 1939 Superman #1 was in like almost mint condition. And so the 3 brothers,
it was just sandwiched between a bunch of old newspapers.
Yeah. And so the brothers decided to auction it off, and it sold for $9.12 million, which is a world record for a comic book. Yeah. And I just thought that is so cool, because when my mother passed, I remember having to go up in her attic and search some of the things, and I found some old toys,
right? Which
then led me to think, well, if I could go back in time and I could say, hey, Santa Claus, this is what I want this is what's on my list, this is what I want.
Right.
So I asked you, I'm like, what would some of those toys be for you, or games, or whatever?
Right. Well, I started thinking about that, and I didn't really have a whole lot that I thought would have been valuable.
It's not necessarily about value, but just what brings back that nostalgia for you.
If I could go back and change one thing, I was a huge baseball card collector.
Same.
And I had a complete set, 1975 Topps. That contains the rookie cards of George Brett, Robin Yount, Gary Carter, And then
Hall of Fame guys.
there are multiple other cards in that set that are worth a lot of money. The Hank Aaron is huge. The Pete Rose is huge. But anyway,
I think I have a Hank Aaron.
I had the complete set, and it was in, mint condition. They were all crisp corners, every single one of them. They were fantastic. And when my dad gave me this for Christmas, he told me we were very much well aware of the fact that we would buy and sell and trade, and he knew that at some point I would probably sell this set, and I did. I ended up selling it.
Did you? Oh, wow.
Made really good money on it at
Wow.
the time. I think I sold it for close to $1,000, which as a 13, 14-year-old, that was a lot of money. In doing a little research today, I saw that I don't know how these would have graded out, because when they grade cards, if the card is cut the least bit off center,
yes,
or something like that, it gets dinged. So I don't have any.
You're at the mercy of tops at that point.
Right. I don't have any illusions that this set would have graded out a 9 or whatever on a scale of 10, but
probably would have done no worse than a 7 or 8.
A very good complete set of 1975 tops. It wouldn't be unheard of now for that to go somewhere between $50,000 and $125,000.
No way.
Yeah. So
see, I too, and I still have a lot of the cards that I collected. Now, I will say I was one of those guys who would put his baseball cards in his spokes on his bicycle with clothesline pins.
So it sounded like a
so that it would make it sound like a motorcycle. I don't know probably how many rookie cards I tossed because they got worn out in the spokes of my bicycle. Anyway, and on occasion, I'll still look at the cards because I probably have, 10,000, something like that still. I do have a Tom Brady rookie.
Nice.
I don't know what it goes for. I've looked, but it was several years ago.
I think a Barry Sanders rookie is the only thing I still have that might be semi-valuable.
Sure. I have a Drew Brees rookie card that's autographed, and
nice.
It came autographed in the pack. So I'm hoping that, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, so that price will go up. Anyway, I do have complete sets of like 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. Topps baseball cards. I've got a lot of football cards.
Yeah.
I've
still got
but
quite a
the reason
few.
I bring it up is because there was a time where the trading cards took a huge dip.
Yep.
And now they've made a comeback.
Yeah, definitely. But
there's just such a proliferation of cards and different makers of the cards, Donruss and Upper Deck.
Well, yeah, you've got all. There's so many now that I've totally lost touch with
Skybox
them.
and just I'm strictly a Topps guy. Bowman has even made a huge comeback. Yeah. Anyway,
I had a Michael Jordan rookie card duct taped to the wall of my dorm at EKU. That was a several $1,000 mistake right there. But another, so we're looking at old, thinking about old toys, things that stood out to me or that I remember just distinctly. I remember when we got an Atari 2600 for Christmas one year, and it was kind of funny because you got to go back and when you look at video games now that look like you're watching a movie versus what we played,
right?
Which was Pong.
The graphics were. I had the original Pong
and Asteroids that were 8-bit, no curves whatsoever. It was all square. Right angles, but and we got that, and I remember at the time nobody really knew much about video games, but I just remember my parents wouldn't let me play it for an extended period because there was this mistaken belief that it was going to like burn an image into the screen of the television if you played it too long. So my Atari was a definite biggie for me.
Well, my Atari comes under the heading of video games, which included Pong, Game Boy. I still have a Game Boy.
I never had a Game Boy.
And I still have a couple of cartridges. And And I still have a Sega Genesis.
That's cool.
Which never really took off, but I loved it.
It was the Betamax of.
But here's what I wrote down, and not in any particular order. Do you remember Talking Football?
Yeah.
Came out in the early 70s and was re-released, I think, in 77 as Monday Night Football, Talking Football. Anyway, but it was a little, it had 13 little records. Since we're vinyl guys, it had 13 little records, and on one side was offense, on the other side defense. It had a little record player that was about the size of a phone, and I would pick an offense when I'm on offense, and I would hand it to you with the defensive side towards you, and you would pick your defense. And then you would hit play, and it would play the one particular play, and you'd move up and down the field that way. Dick Enberg did the voiceover.
Cool.
Because that's the first time I ever heard, oh, my.
Yeah.
And I had one, and along with a bunch of other stuff, lightning hit our house, caught our attic on fire, and we lost everything in the attic. Fast forward to eBay. I found that game on eBay, and I paid $80 for it just because it meant so much to me. Same thing. Do you remember Basket? BAS-KET?
I don't think I remember that one.
It was in the form of a basketball floor, and there were like 7 different spots on each side of the floor with a net on a backboard, and there were spring-loaded things in the floor where it came with a ping pong ball, and it would roll to a spot on the floor, and then you would try to shoot it in the basket. I'll put pictures up of all these. Same thing. I got one off of eBay for about $60, and I still have it. I was going to bring it.
Yeah.
I showed it to my grandkids, and they're like, "What is this?
Why are you wasting our time?"
But this basket came out in 1970 and was made by Cadco. The Talking Football was made by Mattel. But then you remember the electric football games, right?
Yes.
That came out in 70, the original one made by Tudor. And I remember I probably had 4 or 5 different variations of those electric football games where you had the little things on the bottom of the men that made him either spin or go straight, or you could cock his arm and throw a little felt football. If he hit a guy, it was a complete pass. You had to paint the dudes in their jerseys. Anyway, those take me back. I had a couple of more on here. I'll just briefly. Super Toe.
No, I
don't remember Super Toe?
No.
Super Toe was a guy that was probably about a foot tall, and he came with a football that you stood in front of one of his legs, and you pounded his head, and he kicked field goals.
So he's like the fancier version of making a paper triangle and flicking it with your finger.
Well, maybe, but it was much more fun because he came actually with a goal post that you made that stood probably about 2 feet high.
All right.
And I remember me and my brother, we had a long hallway in our house, and we could, if you hit him hard enough on the head, he could probably kick it 20 feet. Anyway, Super Toe. And then the last one was a Milton Bradley game called Dynamite Shack.
Nope, I don't know that one either.
That came out in late 60s.
Okay, yeah.
But it was a plastic outhouse, basically, that you assembled, and it came with these 2 huge plastic thumbs that you put on your thumbs, and you had to put these little sticks of dynamite down the fireplace chimney of the shack before the timer went off, or the whole thing exploded.
Man,
Anyway,
we were so easily entertained.
Dynamite Shack.
I didn't have those, but kind of along the same lines with the Atari, I distinctly remember spending a lot of time playing the Mattel electronic football.
Those things,
which was
with the little dash that you moved.
Yeah, this was it. They were a little bigger than a modern day cell phone. We'll throw a picture up of this one too. I remember mine was green, but you basically had up, down, left, right buttons for running, and you had a button you could hit to pass.
Okay.
But basically, you just had to maneuver the up, down running button to the point where you didn't have a dash in front of you, and then you could hit pass, and the dashes would work their way across the
And it
screen.
made those digital noises.
Yeah, and I played that a lot. Took a 9-volt battery,
Yeah.
and I had that basketball version of that one too.
Yes, I remember that.
But the football version for sure, I remember that.
You can still get those, by the way.
Because I started looking at them today, and I think I may get one of the football ones. I can get them on eBay. They run anywhere from $80 to $100 for them.
They're actually selling them for that much.
Yeah, I guess if I'm going to buy one, that's probably what they'll get me for. But the other toy that took up a lot of my time when I was a kid were my Hot Wheels. The little Hot Wheels cars.
Yep.
And I still have all of my Hot Wheels.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
And I have them, and they are in pristine condition.
Whoa.
Because being this OCD kid that I was, my brother and I both had Hot Wheels. My younger brother, he's 3 years younger than me. He would take his Hot Wheels outside and play with them, and he would take a hammer or a rock and he would smash one to simulate a crash or whatever, and I would always have mine parked neatly, and didn't like to get them dirty or anything. But so I still have them, and I think some of those are actually pretty valuable now because I've got some of the old ones that they call them the red lines, which are the Hot Wheels that on the tire where instead of having a white wall, they have a red line that goes around. And that's kind of your clue that you're dealing with an older model Hot Wheel. They have the red line versions, but
you didn't get them out today and look at them.
I didn't. Given the state of my house still at this point, finding them would probably be. I have a general idea where they are, but I may.
Well, that's very cool.
I may go get them and snap a few pictures to send to Steve to post with this. But yeah, still have all the Hot Wheels. I did have, now if I'd only had the foresight to hang on to those 1975 Topps baseball cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of cool, and I wonder, what toys from like your grandkids, what kind of everything they play with now is all. It's all this. It's all on their phone, or it's on a screen,
a digital
in front of them.
version of it. Mm-hmm.
Kids don't play games anymore.
Yeah, well, two of my grandkids are of the age that they still like to actually hold like figurines. They're all into Marvel characters, so
that's cool.
At one point, I think I had 30 different Marvel guys at my house.
I think kids are. Some kids at least are still pretty interested in Legos.
The 8-year-old loves Legos, and he's got the mind where he would actually sit down, focus, and do it, and he doesn't stop until it's complete.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
His room is full of Legos, and he'll probably get more for Christmas.
Yeah, my oldest, still has all the Legos that we bought.
Yeah.
So some pretty cool things, and I've got adult friends who buy the big monstrous sets.
Those things are expensive.
Yeah, hundreds of dollars.
Yes, very much so.
That's kind of fun.
Cool. That's a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll try to do a little bit more of that in the coming weeks. Especially, I thought as we get maybe closer to Christmas, we might put together a wish list of things that we might like, and not necessarily toys or things like that, but just maybe some things from the past that.
And that's why I kind of brought it up, was because I've, been thinking about what they all want for Christmas. And then, I happen upon a couple of these things just looking through old pictures or looking online. And I thought, well, now's the time to turn your attention towards Christmas and toys. So,
yeah, no doubt.
And the Superman comic book.
Yeah,
that went for $9 million.
We all should be so lucky to find but the crazy thing that I read in the article when I was researching that a little bit was they still estimate that there might be as many as 500 of them out there floating around. So hey, it's good on those guys that they found theirs first, because if they start popping up, people right now are going to be digging through attics all over the country trying to find $9 million comic books. But
what's amazing to me is there's somebody out there who would actually pay $9 million for it.
And that person's name has not been.
He did not want to be. Yeah,
Yeah, because
he didn't want the attention.
It must be nice to have. I
got $9 million laying around over there somewhere.
Exactly. I stand in peddlers malls going, do I want to spend $9 on this album? And you got a guy out here spending $9 million on a comic book, but that's the economy of scale, I guess.
Yes.
Anyway, this weekend, of course, tomorrow we're recording on Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so we're gonna be eating a lot. I didn't.
I already started today, bro.
Did you?
I cooked a turkey and all the stuff today because I wanted it now. Thanksgiving to me is like, I'm a foodie, so it's the best week of the year because it's the only time that I'll crave the leftovers.
Yeah. I'm a leftover guy. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
I eat leftovers, anytime we cook, I purposely cook extra so I've got something to take to work for lunch. But I do love Thanksgiving. I mean, the leftovers, there's just something. I can eat a turkey sandwich on white bread for days after the fact. So we're going to my brother-in-law's tomorrow for turkey dinner. I'm just hoping he bought a big enough turkey to have some leftovers. I'll be making off with some of those. And then we'll have my family, we all traditionally do this Saturday after Thanksgiving. Everybody comes in and we do that. So I'll get two good meals over the next few days, and hopefully I can steal away some leftovers. I didn't get out too much this past week and go out to dinner anywhere. We did meet some friends in Lexington. This past Friday night, we went to Bella Cafe over in the Chevy Chase area. They've got 3 locations now in Lexington, but I didn't do anything. They had all kinds of stuff on the menu that looked good to me, but I just was indecisive. I ended up getting basically fried chicken tenders and French fries and some Brussels sprouts, which everything was good. But they had some you would have liked it because they had some good looking burgers. My buddy got a crispy chicken sandwich, I guess it was, but the burgers looked good. I'd go back. My wife had a really interesting margarita that was coconut and limoncello or something. I mean, it was something kind of unusual, but yeah, she said it was very good. But yeah,
doesn't seem like those two things would pair well.
It was kind of got a little gnat flying around there. It was something kind of interesting. I had never seen that combination in a margarita, but she's a margarita aficionado and said it was very good. So I didn't. But I just had a beer. Had a beer from West 6th and my chicken tenders, and I was like the little kid who won't try anything new, I guess, which is unusual for me because I'll typically go for one of the most exotic things on the menu. But for whatever reason that night, I just wasn't feeling it. But the other thing, I don't think I mentioned this when we got back. I think I drank it after we recorded last week, but I had a beer last week from Ethereal in Lexington. Called the Patagonian, and it was a imperial dark lager that they had aged in barrels of Amburana wood, which gives it this kind of a spicy sort of flavor. But this was just an incredible beer. I mean, they don't do anything wrong at Ethereal ever. But then sometimes they do things that are even better than their norm. And this one was one of those times. And I had kind of intended on us having that. But we ended up we drank something different last week. Oh, we drank the bourbon cola thing.
Yeah.
And so I had held out for like a week and a half and hadn't opened that can of this Patagonian. And so I was off one day and I decided today's a good day to tackle that because it was what they call a crowler, which is a can that they actually can at the brewery off the tap. So it's 32 ounces of a 10% and change beer. So I drank that.
Did you make it?
I drank that over the course of about 6 hours that day.
Wow.
I mean, I sipped on it for the bulk of the day. So I made sure I got all my power tool jobs done,
running the errands anywhere in the car,
and then the rest of the day was just spent doing things that I knew that wouldn't be impaired by that. So good stuff. What about you? Did you do anything?
I took my granddaughter to Galvin's, which is a local place here in Georgetown. I didn't take any pictures. I took a picture of her and I, but I didn't take any pictures of the food. I do. My go-to there is their Philly cheesesteak, which I think is very good. Yeah. She had a Caesar salad, not bad for a 11-year-old girl. She loves some salad. She can eat some steak, though. I offered to take her to a great steak place, and she declined. So,
hey,
I know, right?
That's just a few dollars you saved there.
That's true.
That's
but it was her birthday, so I was happy as heck to take her out and enjoy the night with her.
Yeah, that's fun to get. We used to do that with our kids. We'd let them pick, birthday dinner wherever they wanted, and we went through a long stretch from the time our kids were, as little as like maybe 4 years old. They wanted to go out for hibachi and sushi. That was that's what they wanted, and did that for years. And just in the last couple of years, we've branched out a little bit. My youngest has gotten more on a steak kick, so we do that. But it's always fun to let the kids pick. And
that's the thing at our house too. Is or at my house is anybody who has a birthday in the family. It's always we all gather for dinner, but we let the birthday person pick the location. So that's been an ongoing thing for many years at our place.
Yeah. Always fun.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, when they're little, there's no telling what you might end up eating.
That's true.
When they're young.
That's very true.
I'm not sure why our kids, leaned towards, they liked the spectacle of hibachi, I think was the fun part. And luckily the food is good too. So
yeah, I could tear some fried rice up.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We always did that, but we are. I think that's all we got. We're going to talk.
We're talking about our. You bought a bunch of vinyl.
Didn't you? Yeah. I bought this week. I did buy some vinyl. I mean, I spent my whole day off yesterday working here in the house. Got some flooring laid in the upstairs bathroom where the dreaded flood occurred, and so I had to go get some stuff last night, and I treated myself to a new record. I just ran to Walmart to grab some things and try to stay away from their record aisle because I'm always going to find something. But I did come across a Grateful Dead compilation album, and I posted a picture of the album and the beer that I was drinking in a Facebook beer group that I'm in with the question of, do I have all of these Grateful Dead songs on some other vinyl? Yes, I absolutely do. But are they all compiled on this really cool magenta colored pressing? No, they're not. So so I bought it. It was my treat to myself for working hard all day yesterday.
There you go.
But I had earlier in the week, I actually had a lady reach out to me that lives here in my neighborhood, totally out of the blue, called me and said, do you collect vinyl records? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she said, well, I got a bunch I'm wanting to get rid of. And so I went over and took a look at them, and there was a lot of stuff in there, typical, garage sale, peddler's mall vinyl that you see, things like Perry Como and Lawrence Welk and that kind of stuff. Lots of Statler Brothers and things like that. But she did have a pretty nice box of bluegrass. Had some good bluegrass in it. So I picked up a bunch of Flat and Scruggs because they all looked like they were in good condition. So I got a bunch of Flat and Scruggs. I got a few Frank Sinatra albums. And there were a couple other things scattered in there that were interesting, but for a couple bucks a piece, I wasn't going to pass up those. So I grabbed those. I listened to one of the Flat and Scruggs. I clean them all up when I buy used ones. I give them all a bath and put them on the turntable. And first one I listened to, it played every bit as well as I expected it to because of the condition of it. So there's some good stuff in there. I'll probably keep some of those. I'll probably sell a few of them. I'm going to be selling at Country Boy Brewing in Lexington on Saturday, December the 6th. They're doing a vintage market. I don't know what other kind of things they're going to have there, but I think I'm the only vinyl vendor that's going to be there. So I'm going to continue to try to reduce the inventory a little bit so that I can go out and buy some more. So yeah, that's.
I think next time we get together, because I still have those that I bought last week that I haven't, And I do the same. I give them a bath. I think what maybe we should talk about is how we do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do that probably early next week, and I'll just take a bunch of pictures of like what the whole setup looks like, and we can explain, like, if you're interested, how you can clean your records, your vinyl.
Yeah.
Because there are various ways, but I think we both have probably the same
Real
system.
similar. It's a very rudimentary setup, but you can get pretty elaborate. But for what I do, I think this does a pretty good job. And I'll take records that, basically when you go to a peddler's mall or even get them from somebody's basement, like I did this week, you'll pull records out and they've got fingerprints all over them and things like that. So I usually try to clean. That's one of the biggest enemies of a record is, just the oils off your skin, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're not going to get rid of the scratches,
right.
or
Can't do anything about
they're
that.
In the grooves.
Yeah. Can't do anything about that.
But you can get the dust, and you can hear some of the dust when you're playing it.
Yeah.
It could eliminate some of that. But I think I'll take a bunch of pictures and we can talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm always on the lookout. We talk about this all the time. I mean, I'm reaching out to people trying to buy things, and so if you've got records that you don't want anymore, we're your guys. We'll buy them. I'll buy pretty much anything if it's something I think I'm going to be interested in. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up by talking about what we are drinking tonight. We got another one from our friends at Lexington Brewing and Distilling. This is their Bourbon Barrel Tart Cherry Wheat. I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting from this one. When I think wheat beers, I think things that are more like a Blue Moon type beer, Hefeweizens and things like that. This one, pretty much anytime you take a lighter beer like that or that kind of style and put it in a bourbon barrel, you're going to really change the flavors. This one, I even looked at it because at first I thought it seemed a little bit flat, but that happens sometimes too when you barrel age something. And I don't really know what kind of time beers spend in the barrel at Lexington Brewing and Distilling. I know that they don't, they're not going to do like Ethereal, West Six, Country Boy and put things in barrels and leave them there for a year. They just don't do that because of the scale that they brew on. So I think sometimes the barrel aged aspect of their stuff is a little bit less as far as the time goes. But this one, it's called tart cherry. I don't think it's tart at all.
I was going to say there's no bite to it whatsoever,
no bite.
Either from the bourbon part of the barrel or the tartness of the cherry. It's rather smooth.
It's very smooth, which
it does. I see where you say it kind of tastes flat. Like, think of how a flat cola would taste.
You could have blindfolded me, and I would not have been able to tell you this was cherry.
Or a beer.
To me, it almost tastes kind of like an apple juice.
I'm not an apple juice fan, but I can see where you get that.
Yeah, it's just really hard to describe. It's not what I was expecting.
It does taste like a juice.
But it tastes more like an apple juice. Yeah. But like Steve said, I can't pick up the barrel either. I don't pick up cherry. I don't pick up barrel.
I think I smell the barrel, but I don't taste it.
Right. And you don't smell any cherry either.
It definitely. And maybe we're thinking along the lines of like a cherry candy or a cherry cough syrup or something. It's not
that
profound
sure.
like that at all.
I'm pretty indifferent, honestly.
And as I mentioned last week, I was over there for a TV thing and told the guy, hey, we do a podcast on local beers and stuff. And he's like, what would you like? And I said, I don't know. Find me the oddball stuff. And he goes, the cherry over there. And he gave me the bourbon cola, and he gave me some of this. It's not bad, but it doesn't live up to its name.
I don't think so. I mean, I need to go over there and take the
and here
tour.
I am already drinking, all of it.
I need to take the tour and
It's
kind
a
of.
great place.
I'd like to know a little bit more about when they say things are barrel aged. Like I said, I just know the volume of barrel aged beers they put out, and they go all over the country.
So you're saying just the volume affects how long it's aged, which affects obviously the taste.
Because they just don't have the ability,
the capability,
to store things in barrels at the quantity in which they brew to produce. So like
that wasn't bad.
So Friday, Black Friday, everybody goes out shopping. I'm gonna go out shopping on Black Friday to buy beer. Which over the years, if I've been lucky enough to be off on Black Friday, I've gone and done it. But most of the time, as a retail pharmacist, I wasn't off. So I'm going to get up Friday morning, and I will be in line at Ethereal Brewing in Lexington, probably at the very latest 7 a.m., if not earlier than that, to pick up their Black Friday beers. But they barrel age things, and when they say they barrel age it, they put it in a barrel and it sits there for a year and a half.
So it really absorbs that char. And
West 6th is releasing a bottle on Friday that has been in a barrel, I believe, for 3 years.
Wow.
So I'm your Huckleberry. I'm going to go buy one of those too. But yeah, so I'm going to spend all my, record sale profits over the last couple months probably on beer on Friday. So that'll be my treat to myself. But we'll try one of those next week when we're sitting here. There's a bunch of good ones.
Occasionally we'll run into a situation where we're going out on a little shoot on some brewery or someplace like that, and I'll mention to them because they always are very kind and say, well, here's here's a bottle or here's a can, or I think the one time I brought in a crowler and
yeah,
it was good.
Oh yeah, those were good.
So I'll continue to do that.
Next time we hit Lexington Brewing and Distilling, we'll see if they've got any of the barrel-aged milk stout. That's still one of my favorite beers they've ever done. I don't even know if they still make it anymore, but it's a good one. But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna finish up for tonight. We're gonna prep for a big day and weekend of eating, which I'm going to do that and try to accomplish a few projects in between, and some leftovers, some football, maybe some little basketball. But anything else? I can't think of anything we haven't covered tonight.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Absolutely. Until next time, we'll say cheers.